I'm sitting in the same room as my piano right now. But isn't it amazing? The piano, the instrument that most represents the world, that can be an orchestra in itself, that can play rock and pop, jazz and classical. It sits in my front room, and it sits in the front room of so many people across the world. And that amazes me. It amazes me that it sits there, allowing any person to become a musician in their own right. Isn't that incredible? And we as piano teachers are the gatekeepers of that possibility. We have the potential to inspire, or we have the potential to put somebody off music for life. You see, to me, I've watched, I've talked, I've listened, and it seems to me that there are 3 common approaches to piano pedagogy that I believe can potentially hinder the development of a healthy musicality. The first I call the trudge. This is the page turner. This is the strict sticking to a piano tutor book, used verbatim with little musical imagination. Turn the page and teach what comes next. The second is the Jackson Pollock. This is the splattering of a multitude of different activities all in one lesson. Oh, I've got to include sight reading and oral and listening and scales and arpeggios and pieces and everything all in one lesson. And it's very active, but is anything really done in depth? The third I call the ski jump. This is where a teacher points a student at the exam syllabus, gives them a little push down the slope, watches them take the jump, and waits to see if they land on their feet or if they crumple in a heap. Do you recognise any of these? I know I do. I've done them all. But I'm terrified that along the way I may have denied the world the potential of somebody's musicality, or even worse, I might have denied someone the gift of musical expression. And this is why I'm so excited to have been working on what I believe is a really simple approach that puts the learner at the centre. And this is what floats my boat. This is what sparks my fire. This is what puts the chocolate on my cappuccino. And I call this approach the learning for musicality approach. I think it best can be summed up using an acronym, and it is only a summary. I like the acronym ACHU. Let me explain. The A stands for assessment. Anybody working within the world of teaching and learning knows that the planning and assessment cycle is the bread and butter of all we do as teachers. You can't plan without assessment. And so having good assessment in place enables you to plan effectively. Quite simply, it's knowing where the student is at the moment, where they need to get to, and how that can be measured along the way. C stands for curriculum, because good learning, as we know, is based on a curriculum and not on a syllabus. But the trick is how we take a curriculum and how we transfer it into something workable. I like to call this a learning movement, just as a symphony, i.e. the curriculum, is broken down into different movements. I have a little unit of learning that I call the learning movement, and this is the way that we translate the curriculum into something workable. H stands for home. The sorcery that happens when, the magic that happens when a teacher takes the curriculum and changes it into something workable and understandable so that the student can go home and work on it and practice independently. The O stands for organic. This is the beauty of taking a concept and making organic links around it. How can we take one concept but explore it with breadth and depth through a myriad of different musical approaches? And finally, we have O. O stands for outcomes. Sometimes don't we feel that maybe without the exams so many of us crave just to mark time somehow in learning? don't we find that sometimes learning can just go on and on, somehow unmarked? With this approach, we put outcome, a learning showcase at the end of a learning movement. So it gives something to work towards. But more than that, it's a showcase, it's a celebration. It's a chance to show off and to mark the learning that has taken place during the unit of learning. Einstein once said that once we stop learning, we start dying. Well, perhaps I'm naive. Perhaps I'm living in cloud cuckoo land. But one thing I know is that I am not prepared to let my students' musicality die through boredom, through confusion, or through exam obsession. And this is why I dream that the simplest of approaches can really help piano teachers to plan effectively, so that the learning journey embarked upon by a learner is the deepest, the broadest, and the clearest of all. Thank you.